So I find this very interesting. The arts and creativity is commodity. In creative firms, ideas are the lifeblood and certainly are a commodity. How do you build an environment where ideas can thrive and not be squelched? As I spoke with John Stoddard, an industrial designer who works as a senior designer with the innovation firm Ideo, I had in mind this very nugget I was working on. From what I heard about the firm John works at, it has built a healthy environment for the Muse, setting up the infrastructure and then getting out of the way. Ideo started out as a design firm, but these days they do a broad range of what you would call innovation, ranging from reorganizing hospital systems to new ways to dust your home. They have numerous offices around the globe in Europe, Asia, and in the United States. Teams are formed from varied disciplines involving anthropology, biomechanics, interface design, information architecture, cognitive psychology, a business factors group, electrical and mechanical engineering, and a manufacturing group. Each new project is approached in a remarkably thought-through manner. John received his Master's of Design in Industrial Design from the Royal College of Art in London. He lectures widely at design conferences and such and has received numerous awards in his field. In the late 90s, he moved from his position as head of design in Ideo's London office to the design team in their Palo Alto office in California's Silicon Valley to work with startup companies. We spoke in that office's courtyard, mostly about the company, not so much about John, which I apologize for. But you can still see how well his own creativity thrives in this company environment. So John, what is it that Ideo does right?
It's about realizing the power of Ideo is in the people and their skills and their experience and their ability to apply that creativity. And so, as you say, the company sets it up and gets out of the way. And I think that's very much, for me, a Silicon Valley philosophy, which is do what works. But it has to work.
But it takes trust to see if it'll work as well.
Yeah, fortunately, we have this prototyping culture where when we're designing stuff, it could be designing a service, could be designing a product, we'll prototype really early what that is and try it out and test it and use it. And we apply that to ourselves as well. So we prototype our structure, we regularly turn things upside down, we'll try something else. Everything's an experiment here. And that makes it easy to change. Because if I tell you, we're going to rearrange your week for you, then you might feel a little resistant to that. But if we say, let's try an experiment, let's see if we can get through the work more easily if we try this idea. And if it's an experiment, then people will accept it because if it doesn't work, we'll go back to a better way. And so that prototyping philosophy, which is actually a willingness to fail, helps us in our work and in our culture. You know, I'm a senior designer here, but I lead projects, but I also work in teams led by other people, and that changes day to day. And so you have to be very happy with that sort of structure. It doesn't suit everybody. Some people like to run their own thing, like to have control, and they'll go off and start their own company. Some people like, maybe the opportunity to make more money, because in the creative industries, it's probably not the most efficient way to make money, because every job you do is different. You're inventing ways to do things all the time. You never have the benefit of economy of scale, or any of those classic ways to make more money. So therefore, you tend to be based around the time you spend on something and the value you create as your income. And that's more limited in creative industries.
Because they are lean times, you have to be indulgent in these kinds of ideas so that you can be more efficient in order to, as you say, your clients ask you to try to kind of, I like to use the term reboot, to rethink, from the ground up.
Yeah, because quite often it's no good them having more of what they had before. They've got to go through some radical change. And our process is designed to help them figure out what to do next. Normally through their customers and their users in a big way. Or find new customers and users. And then we'll help them figure it out from the end result backwards. So Sometimes people come to us with a technology and they say, what do we use this for? It does happen occasionally. And then we'll look around for problems to solve with that technology. And it's a very fuzzy area compared to product engineering. And therefore our process is designed to provide reassurance. Through the process, we work with our clients so they go through the same process as us. It's about individuals coming together rather than departments.
Well, how about grabbing some products right there?
Right. Well, yeah, these are one or two examples of things I've worked on. This is actually a little product that someone might have at home. They put it perhaps on their bedside table. They might be elderly, and their doctor wants to know how well they're doing every day. And it's very expensive for the doctor to call around every day. So the idea is this is connected to your phone, and it asks you questions every morning. How are you feeling today on a scale of 1 to 4? I'm feeling pretty good. And so those answers are being fed back to a service center. They're monitoring how people are reacting. And if the score's for concern, they'll ring up the doctor and he'll go around. So it's possible to design things so that there's no stigma attached to being ill, which sometimes there can be. It's the same with hearing aids we worked on. We make the hearing aids look trendy, like they could be a cool communication device, which is what they are actually. Because it's the chaos that enables you to create faster and create more surprise. But it's the order that keeps you on track and keeps your clients coming back. It helps you remember you've got to make some money in the process, and the fact you've also got to design things to be safe, all those kind of worthy things. And you've got to be efficient in many ways because clients are in a hurry. And so it's this riding an edge between order and chaos.
Well, that's the thing that I find interesting, because it is a business, and that can take over the creativity.
Well, yeah, inevitably, because whenever you get a new job with a client, you've taken a bet. It's a wager that you can come up with the ideas within a certain time.
Right.
And so, as you know from your experience in advertising, you've got 12 hours to come up with a breakthrough. And that's very different from an inventor or something, or even an artist. An artist can take a bit longer. They probably have a show deadline where the gallery is anxiously waiting for things. But they have to wait for the muse to kind of cooperate. Whereas we have to nudge the muse along. We have to find ways to persuade the muse and trick the muse and make the muse want to work with us.
In advertising, when we would work more efficiently and come up with something within our own organization, our account executives would then set that as a precedent. It takes 36 hours to do this, and so you quantify. How do you quantify ideas?
Right. Well, there's several factors involved, because how good do you decide an idea is? When's a breakthrough a breakthrough? And so there's some subjective value there. We find an answer to these conundrums is to work with our clients very closely. If you give me a challenge as a client, and I disappear for a week and come back with one drawing, you will say, it took you a week to do one drawing. Whereas if I work with you and we go through 100 drawings and we evolve those together, and we come to some amazing realizations, and we narrow it down to 30, and we narrow it down to 10, and then we have a furious argument, we get down to 1, and after a week we've got 1. The client will be absolutely stunned that you've been through all that process of enlightenment, insight, hard work, struggle, and you've got it down to the solution. Two different situations, the same apparent deliverable. So by working with the client, you're more likely to impress them that what you've done is tough and you've answered a problem efficiently. Of course it's harder work because you're on stage all the time when you're working with clients. if they're working with you, and we have clients come and spend the whole project with us. We have project spaces devoted to that. And it's tough going because there's no relaxing. You're on the job all the time. And part of what we do does involve diverse experiences. So we have some unexpected beliefs, if you like time spent on other things is still useful for your project because it's stimulating ideas. Time listening to other people is actually creative time if you're doing it within the context where you make use of it. And so that to us is a normal way to increase serendipity and accelerate innovation. But you have to be careful because clients could see it as dropping off their job and doing something else. So it has to be clear what's going on.
That's right.
Designers are really good at coming up with instant stuff. If you told an industrial designer told me that you want me to design a new lamp in an hour, that would be easy. I could do it in 10 minutes, design a new lamp. And so clients think you've got a store of designs in your head, and what they're coming along for, they're buying the experience, and they just want you to draw it sometimes for simple things. And there are designers who provide that service.
Right.
It's not the business we're in, and we don't compete with those designers. Actually, we're working with companies who understand that problems are more tricky, and they need to be more consistent about getting results. But if you're making tables, for example, you're a table manufacturer, you can just wait for people to come in the door with designs. Some companies do that,
Right.
and that's fine if you're willing to give planning your future up to chance. But many of our clients need to have a product in the stores in Q3 next year, and if they don't have a product in there's a huge gap in their revenue, and so they're already panicking. And so we have long-term relationships with clients who come back for more, and they come back for the second generation, but they'll also be asking us bigger questions typically. That's why they come to us in addition to their own designers who spend every day of every year working on monitors. They have huge depth of understanding of the market, they know the manufacturing things inside out, they know exactly what the brand should have. But that's dangerous knowledge if you're trying to come up with something new. The company is over 10 years old, and it feels the same way as when it was founded, because I was part of the group that came together in the founding. The way we work has become more sophisticated and developed, but essentially it's the same sort of philosophy, thanks to the founders realizing that they needed to set up a self-sustaining culture.
Well, John, thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much. It's
You're welcome.
a wonderful